Assalamu alaikum, brother Ayman.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah.
It's a pleasure to speak with you today. I'm inspired by the work you have done with Islamic Leadership Institute of America, and I'm eager to learn more about your experience. Your insight on leadership within our community are invaluable, and I look forward to our conversation.
Jazakallah khairan.
Brother Ayman, please can you tell me something about leadership, what leadership is?
What leadership is? That's a really good question that many people haven't solved yet. There's over 200 definitions of leadership. But I think from our perspective, from the Islamic perspective, it's being that perfect submitter to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I would summarize it in ihsan, right? Having that self-leadership. So leadership starts by ourselves. And if we can achieve that, then inshallah, by being a good follower to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can be good leaders.
Why do we need good leaders in today's world? Like, why is it important to be a good leader?
Well, when you look throughout the Quran, the themes of leadership are just all over. Whether it's at the individual level, as an ummah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls us all together. Examples of the prophets, from Ibrahim alayhi salam, Ismail, Ishaq, Musa alayhi salam, of course mentioned so many times in the Quran, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. You see many examples of leadership. Without leadership, a society would drift into one direction or another. Today you look in the world, you see crazy things happening. I mean, look at the elections that are going on these days, and the campaigns rather for the United States presidency. It's a joke. I mean, when you think about it, this is the most powerful country on the planet, and it's like clowns running it. It's just a joke. So when you don't have good leadership, you have an example like Fir'aun, right? He's an example of a very bad leader, a leader who took his people astray, a leader who had arrogance, and his fate was, as we all know, he drowned, right? He had he lost or lived a very losing life, and he's of course in the hereafter a loser. So leadership helps us stay focused. It helps us achieve our goals, and for us as Muslims, it helps us make sure we're focused on the hereafter.
Yeah, just to follow back, can you please provide us some example? Why was Fir'aun not a successful leader?
So Fir'aun was successful in one aspect, that he influenced people to follow him. However, he used coercion or force, right? So technically, a common definition of leadership is to influence people to follow the person, the leader, without using force, on their own voluntarily will, right? Obviously, Fir'aun was not able to do that. He had to enslave people. He had to force them in order to follow him. So in that sense, technically, from a definition perspective, he does not qualify to be a leader, right? But he had people follow him in his misguidance, right? And that's just the summary of it. But technically, he was not a good leader.
Yeah, just to follow back on the same story as you mentioned. I have a group of sports. I have a group of people, like I run a soccer program. Most of the time, I do sports program, and some of the kids, they do listen to me, but sometimes some of the kids, even after giving them a lot of advices and telling them not to make the same mistake, they keep making the same mistake. Like, as a good leader, how can I influence them so they can be on track and they should be following the rules and regulation rather than staying on phone even while they're on the ground?
That's the Sunday group, right?
Yeah.
I saw you guys a couple of times. Great group. So one thing is mindfulness, self-awareness, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about taqwa throughout the Quran. And when we see in the Quran, there are two themes. One is to build yourself, and the other one is to stay away from negative influences. But the predominant theme throughout the Quran is building yourself, right? It's always about the heart and the taqwa, and doing repentance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to remember. See, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throughout the Quran says, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ, or أَنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. Know that Allah is severe in His punishment. Know that Allah is merciful, and so forth. So that mindfulness or self-awareness, which is the concept idea of taqwa, is to know the boundaries that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set for us. So these young fellows, if they can just constantly remind themselves about being more attentive to their surroundings, to their behavior, how do they engage with what's around them, other people, the environment around them, right? So we can get a banana, eat it, and throw the peel and just walk away. But if we're more cognizant, we're more aware, we say, oh no, I can't do that because, you know, the Prophet ﷺ taught us not to throw stuff in the path of people. So I'm going to keep the peel with me until I go home. I could throw it in the trash or compost it, or I put it in some place where it's going to decompose and inshallah fertilize the land, right? So that concept of taqwa, if we start to apply it in everything in our life, whether it's school, relationships with friends, homework, you know, our prayers, and so forth, inshallah, we will get to that point where you don't have to remind them, right? They already remember themselves, and that gives them a sense of responsibility, a sense of self-esteem, because no one has to tell them to do stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with you, and I definitely will input this in our program, and we'll see the outcome of it. I have a group of people, and most of the time I do talk to them about leadership, and they want to be good leaders. But I always get this question from the students, and most of them they have good grades. They're really good, like in sports too. But they ask me, how can I be a good leader? How can I prove that I'm a good leader? Like, what skills do I need? What kind of work should I do, or communication, or what kind of service do I need to provide to the community so I can prove myself or satisfy myself that I'm a good leader?
So, like we said earlier, it starts from within, right? It starts by focusing on your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, if we want to be, as the Prophet ﷺ says, kullukum ra'in, all of you are shepherds, and all of you are responsible for your flocks. And then the hadith says, the father or the man is a shepherd in his house, and the wife is a shepherd in the house of her husband, and the son or the child is a shepherd in the house of his father. So how can a child be a leader in the household of his father? By good relationships with his parents, good relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So from a young age, if we become more aware of our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is Allah? Understanding Him first, right? Understanding His qualities, understanding how to call Him, how to make dua. When we're praying, we're not just doing movements, but we feel the prayer, right? These are all things that help us build that character, right? Once that character is built, it's now exhibiting self-leadership, which is the very first basic level of leadership, right? Being a follower to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next level is team leadership, or goal maybe, to achieve some goals. So for a 10-year-old, that goal could be to clean his room, or to put his shoes away, or to do his homework on time, right? So now he's achieving not only self-leadership in his etiquettes and character, but also achieving some goals. And then another level, which is a little higher, is team leadership. So now this 10-year-old maybe can take care of himself and his 8-year-old sibling, right? If they're out playing, he's keeping an eye on him, making sure things are safe, telling him, hey, it's time to go back home, let's wrap up the game, and so on. And then after we achieve team leadership in our context of, our friends and others, then we get to a higher level, which is more situational. We can deal with situations around us, things that happen kind of on the spot.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and it's a great examples you provided. I think so that would be it for the leadership for today. We'll definitely be having more conversation about leadership. I have some more question about your recent job. If you can explain that to our audience, that would be great. So,
you're referring to the commission?
Yeah, I definitely want to know that.
So that was a voluntarily opportunity with the state of Maryland to be a commissioner on the Hate Crime Response and Prevention Commission. It's a commission that's part of the Attorney General's office, and the whole idea here is to make sure the voice of the young people and others are heard when it comes to hate crime. So hate crime, hate incidents, when someone attacks another person either physically or emotionally due to their race, their color, their background, who they are, things like that, we consider that to be a hate crime. And my role would be that voice, that channel between the community and the state, so that we could help with new laws, new things to protect people and to make sure people feel safe. Unfortunately, when I got appointed by the state attorney, there was a barrage of Islamophobic attacks on me and other Islamic organizations, and some people did not want me to be there. They did not want Muslim representation because we recognize things like the genocide that's happening in Palestine. We recognize that it is an occupied land and there's an apartheid there and so forth, and some of these groups do not, they want to silence our voices. They do not want us to use those terms because they feel it exposes, the atrocities that they're responsible for.
What made you join the commissioner job? Like, what was the reason behind it? I know you mentioned that you want to be a voice for the people who are not represented, but why did you took this step specifically?
Yeah, so that's a good question. There used to be a Muslim sister on that same commission a year ago, and again, there was a lot of Islamophobic attacks on her, and the Attorney General disbanded the whole group and brought new people. And I wanted one to fill that void because we did not have Muslim representation. So an email came out after that happened, and I was one of the people who filled out the application. So one was to fill out the void, and like you said, to kind of make sure our voices are heard and that we could have some impact in guiding and advising the Attorney General and other people in the state when it comes to laws and things that would protect us, guidelines, especially in the school, because a lot of the curriculum in the school sometimes is not very accurate. Certain things are omitted, other things are added and that are not correct, or you find imbalances. You find some students are allowed to do videos about their culture while other students are not allowed. And the reason is because of their background, their ethnicity, their religion. I know many Muslim youth who had videos about, for example, the war in Syria or issues going on in Palestine or Afghanistan, but their schools do not allow them to put it because, they just are anti-Muslim or Islamophobic or whatever. But they make claims. They say it's too much stress for the students. But then they would allow another video by another group that has very similar scenes, scenes of people being injured or war or things of that nature. So there's double standards, right? And it's really important that we address these issues. Double standards in how administration deals with students. There's double standards in how the curriculum is presented. Sometimes one side of history is presented, not both sides.
Yeah, I definitely agree with it, and I know there is a lot of issues been going on recently. There's a lot of up and down, and again, I want to reflect back on the leadership. As a leader and as a founder of an organization, how would you resolve this issue? Because it's been going on since the last years, over 50-60 years, and these issues are still happening and they're ongoing. How can we resolve these issues? I know that it's a hard question, and we are living in a country that we have these kind of issues. How can we resolve it?
So each one of us needs to always develop ourselves. We do self-development. We learn more about things around us. We be really experienced in our fields and domains. We work together. Teamwork is so important. Being agile, easy and quick in doing things and getting results done, not taking too long to respond to needs of your community. And just forecasting what is needed in the future, right? So if we go back to the example of your sports group, these young people are coming every Saturday playing soccer, right? One question they can ask themselves, what is our soccer game gonna look like next year? So come summer of 2025, are we still gonna be playing in the same school, same field? We need bigger field. I know you guys got goals recently, right? So there's some growth trajectory there, but engaging them in that question, right, is a way of developing their leadership skills. Because now you're helping them visualize what this game or soccer program could look like a year from today, right? And then what about 5 years from today? Do they see this as just a Sunday program, or would they want to go on a travel and compete with other teams across the state or across the region? You know, or do some of them want to play soccer even in college, for example? So that's one way of developing, you know, leadership skills in young people, by giving them these opportunities to be part of those types of discussions.
Yeah, I'm definitely following you along here. I'm also doing the same thing. I have two programs, like one is cricket and one is soccer. We usually meet for cricket on Saturdays, and for soccer we meet on Sundays. So what I did is, like, I took the Saturdays, some of the Saturday people, the cricket people, and I told them, like, you have to be volunteer in our soccer program, and then I took some of the kids from soccer program and put them in cricket program so they can do volunteer. At the same time, they're getting a lot of leadership skills, and they're learning a lot, that how does it feel to be a leader. And they always ask me a lot of good question about leadership. So the other day, this one kid, he was asking me that I know we always bring a lot of water and we waste a lot of water bottles here. Why can't we have a water fountain? Which was a good question, and at the same time we need facilities. Like, I would need your advice on this. Like, how should I responded to his question, because we are playing on an open field, and it was a good question, and of course it does make a lot of sense that if you are getting a lot of bottle of water each and every week, like 3-4 packs each and every time, why can't we have a water fountain?
Yeah. So best ways is throw the question back at him. Like, what are your ideas, right? Write them down, draw them, you know, encourage them to speak up and to share their ideas and thoughts. And then you could even have a group. You could ask that same person, would you like to nominate 6 or 7 people who can join you in a group, and you guys can review all these ideas and then choose one of them. And you can teach them the idea of pros and cons, right? So you can teach them how to take these ideas and turn it into data in a spreadsheet, 2 columns, benefits and drawbacks, and they compare idea 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, right? So maybe cost, maybe how difficult it is to implement, maybe how difficult or easy it is to maintain, you know, how convenient is it to use by the 4 different approaches, and then that same group can make a selection and start implementing it. And then you could let them see how well it works, right? So then you're teaching them responsibility. So with the first activity, you're teaching them critical thinking. You're also teaching them ambassadorship and being part of a decision. The second activity, once they decide on a solution and they actually do it, right? Now they're becoming responsible for the outcome. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. I mean, that's what life is about, is to learn, and from these mistakes, you know, that's how they grow. So that's great that they're asking these types of questions and thinking outside the box. They're not just there to play and throw the water bottles, or, you know, have a big bag of recycled bottles. They're looking for other ways, and that's very good. That means that they have that awareness that we were talking about earlier, that self-awareness, that, you know, how can we make things better?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, there were some good example. You mentioned that we definitely need to ask the person back that what are their ideas, so then we can also keep these things in our mind, because sometimes there can be like a lot of different ideas, and we definitely need to give these young people an opportunity to speak about themselves, about their ideas. This way they will feel confidence to ask more and more questions, and they really have a lot of good ideas. So
and you know, Elia has a youth project management program. So that person or these young people, they can take YPM 101. It teaches them ideas of planning. They can turn that question into a small project, like a 3-week project, right? And the project, its scope could just be to answer that question. How can we save water bottles, right? And it's a great way for them to learn skills, a great thing, of course, to put on the resume. But the nice thing about it is the skills they learn is transferable. So they use it not only in this project, but they can use it to plan their homework, to plan their summer, to plan big things in life like college and high school and things like that. So that's another thing you can do is when you find opportunities like that, you could introduce them to this idea as like, hey guys, I see you came up with different ideas. Would you like to learn more skills, right? And we found that this type of training gives youth a lot of sense of self-esteem and confidence, and that's how they automatically start to become young leaders. And behaviors at home change. You find parents saying, oh, they're very courteous now, they listen better, they're more responsive, they get up on their own, no one has to wake them up in the morning, those kinds of things, School grades usually do better, and they're more focused in the way they think.
Yeah, I think that's a great program, and definitely if you can put that link or if you can put some link or like some more information about that program on this channel, so if people who are interested in that program, so they can join in our program. I definitely remember that day when you shared a person's story with me who made like a plan that we will have a community, we will have school, mosques, and markets. So I think so that's something really good for this youth to start something and to think about some of the things, and this way we'll have like a positive change in the community. We definitely need a lot of good leaders in the community, so then like we can have a more safe and welcoming environment in the community. This way we can improve. But it was a great conversation about leadership and about your commissioner job, and I hope to continue same more and more videos about more topics. And for now, thank you so much, Brother Ahmed, for answering all the questions, and we will definitely be getting back on other videos for some other information.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Jazakallah khairan.